to the channel. We thought we would follow on with another episode. And to finish with Native Americans, because really you've been to the Amazon. And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It feels like you were here 5 minutes ago. So you've been to the Amazon, you've had those experiences. And so when it comes to Native Americans, from young I've always had this attraction to being Native American, past life, and wanting to be there and having that fascination with it. Can you imagine doing a ceremony up on those cliff faces, the red cliff faces, the sun setting, but that whole thing where you can actually let go. There's no one looking for you, phone's not looking for you, work's not looking for you. So you've let go and now you're in a setting that's absolutely incredible.
So like Trevor, we were different humans in that time. We had a way stronger connection to nature. That's why when we did partake within the plant medicines, it was very sacred and special and ceremonial, and there was etiquette to it because they weren't done often. They were used as special occasions and recalibrations, celebrations.
Very spiritual and religious.
Yes,
yeah.
And because they were such humble people living on the land, for them to tie 365 prayer ties, they would. For us, it's easy. We go down to the linen shop and we buy a ball of cotton in the right color and the material to cut. But in those days, it was different. What they were eating was completely different. The way their bodies were wired was completely different. Their hunting skills, because without those skills, they wouldn't be able to survive. Their tracking skills, which was all about intuition and senses, adapting, because otherwise you wouldn't survive. So because of their connectedness, that's why we have the etiquettes, because they saw the positive and the negative to it, but they never attached to the positive and the negative, because what necessarily is good for you today is not necessarily good for you like tomorrow, and vice versa. So they understood that then. So plants were used, but if there were no plants within the area, then it would be the ceremonies that were the medicine.
Yeah.
The same way that they understood that their bodies were the medicine, that they were the medicine, that they brought healing, because they all had a gift. If you look at the tribes, they would each get a name. Happy Sitting Bull, with all the different tribes.
You have a name, but do you keep it sacred? You don't share it on air or what?
No, I trade as my name because it's my name. It's like baptism for me out of the Amazon jungle, dreamt through an elder that I work with, from one of the original tribes out of the Amazon jungle called the Kaxinawa, and we've become friends, and like we're close knit. When I'm in Brazil, we see each other as often as we can. When he works in South Africa, I try to see him as often as he can. He's had a huge influence on my life. And so his grandmother baptized me, and I have a forest name, and I have a double-barreled forest name, and it's inuyube. And inuyube would be the inu, the first part is the jaguar, onsa is another name for it, but my name specifically is inu, and the yubu is the healing serpent, the boa. And so that's the name that I work with, and that's how I registered my practice. We challenged the RKS for recognition of a path so that we could have a school and open up for students within the lineage, sacred lineage back to the Amazon jungle, with working with a sacred teacher. People find a lot of healing and understanding with the plant, and they want to go further. They want to understand more. And without being born indigenous, it's expensive to travel to the jungle to go get the understanding with them. So with us being able to work together, the guys are like able to make it happen. I'm not actively involved with the circle anymore. I represent and arrive.
But so he's traveling all over the world, isn't he?
Correct. He travels all over. There's quite an interesting story with Bunny, and I don't know if all the stories are fables or stories, but Bunny's got a few brothers, and so when they started going out into the world, some of the elders were like, no, these guys need to finish the initiation properly. They can't just, because the Kaxinawa go out into the world and serve medicine to shift people's lives. The elders were like, wait, we need to do this responsibly. So they pulled Bunny back almost into the forest to do a dieta. He basically had to go back to his elder, the Pajé, and go spend, so this is the story that I've heard of. And so he had to go back, him and his brothers, for this year initiation again, so they could get the finality into it. So when I started working with Bunny, I think he had been pouring medicine a little bit in the country already. He was still reading from these manuscripts written in the Kaxinawa language. They have their own written language for thousands of years already. These illiterate people.
And that's for the song, the Icaros, eh?
For their songs, yes.
Yeah.
And they're all channeled from heaven, and all about the tribes and how they've kept the tribes together in the forest and the balance of the forest. So the way Westerners perceive ayahuasca is completely different to the way the forests perceive like ayahuasca, and so they also have a lot of etiquette. They also have a lot of like ceremony. They also have fire in their ceremony, prefer to have fire in their ceremony for the connection to the grandfather. So Bunny opens in prayer. He asks his ancestral lineage, his grandmother, his great-grandmother, his grandfathers, uncles, to be there to support them, to protect them. And he's got this immense integrity and power, and he really knows how to wield it. He's an incredible healer.
He really knows how to make medicine, eh? Tell us about him making medicine, the process he goes through.
Well, it's incredible the work that they do, him, his cousins and his brothers, how they all work together. He has a brother who lives in Germany, and then they go back to the forest, and the alkaloids are all collected, and either in the village, or they have another place they work in.
Because he goes along with the river.
Well, yes, so they all live on the rivers. Their villages are all on the river, like it would be an a cappella of islands. It's an a cappella of like villages physically on the island. They're independent, like villages with an independent chieftain or elders and a council, and then they have a central where elders come together who have been appointed by the tribe. That's how they work. There are 32 or 33 like villages there. So everything is together. The Kene is weaved from the cotton that's harvested in the forest with hand looms that's dyed in the forest from either different bugs, beetles, plants. And so when Bunny comes, he comes with that culture, and he comes with that understanding. So we challenge the RKS to be accredited as initiate students, or in the African sense, Twasas, in Twasa. So I'm studying under my teacher. I've been initiated within a lineage for an understanding, and I've been working for, I don't know, 10 years with him, and I'm still not finished. I'm still not initiated. I don't pour the medicine. I like to support Bunny in the room. I haven't found my singing voice. It's not my calling to sing. I don't channel songs. I don't see the music, so I leave it for the pros. But I support them in other ways, and for me, it's the change in my life and the change I've seen in other people's lives. And with Bunny sits on the same alliance. He has a close relationship to the Santadami. They like their medicine made with their own hands, with their family. They call it a dieta. They'll come together for 2 weeks. And it's mostly the men, because it's pretty hard work. So they've harvested everything, or it comes in from the forest, or they're doing it in a village in the forest. They have the pots made, they're pretty big. They have their own formulation of how much vine, how much leaf they combine. It's hard work. They awake, they keep the pots going, they sleep in hammocks. The site just outside of Sao Paulo, with Italian friends who have made the land available, they've kind of created structures. It's called a kitchen for simple terms. And then the alkaloids come to Sao Paulo. They have a route with family that they go through, and they prepare it. So he travels into America, into Europe. They do small groups. They have a museum or a cultural exhibition in Italy by a family or group that have sponsored it. And all the money that's raised in this facility, and I don't know where it is in Italy, that it goes back to support within the forest. And when Bunny comes out of the forest with a craft, each thing's got a label on with a name, and it's in a book, and he knows where he got it. It all comes out the forest to a central point. I think the town or city's name is Rio Branco. The women pack it, they categorize it, they write the books because each parcel comes from each part of the village or the tribe. It's so when we find people just presenting the medicine, it's not ayahuasca, it's Afrihuasca or Aussiehuasca or Farmerhuasca, because what people are doing is that they're bastardizing it. The typical, and it's not wrong or right, but the typical creative human mind goes like, hold on, I can do this, but there's another way, because I'm not in the jungle and I can't get these two plants. And there's lots of these two plants, it's not just one vine. There's many of them.
Each country would have different kinds of plants.
Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, exactly, because the environments of the Amazon jungle are like different because it's so expensive. So it's really in their blood, like he was more than likely consuming ayahuasca in the belly of his mother, and so had every child. I think Bunny only drank just before he became a teenager. Obviously, he was in the songs and in the ceremonies his whole life.
There's a lot of youngsters that actually drink from about the age of 7. I've seen somewhere.
Well, in other organizations, tribes and churches, younger, 4, 5, as long as they have the comprehension and they can kind of get into the.
So in a way, he started quite late.
You're drinking the medicine, and look, I could be wrong. This is all recalling after the last couple of years with like working with them, the way they use tobacco, the hape, the application, the love, like we see him as a strong, sturdy tree, because he's just very powerful. He's not perfect. Portuguese is his second language. He studies, degreed. He has a complete understanding of the world. He's now standing in politics. I don't know what his position will be, but now he's actually standing in his home state, which I think is Acre in Brazil, to try benefit the indigenous people, not be corrupted by the system. So that's all connected back to the alliance, So like Bunny spends a lot of time in Florianopolis at the Santadami, the community that has been there for 37 years. He works within their organization or elders or people within their organization who host him in different places around the world because it's an alliance. And so we have friends and family kind of everywhere, there's a sacred circle or a fire somewhere. It's all connected to the fire, all connected to the sacredness. If you want your tradition and your etiquette preserved, you bring it to the sacred altar. It gets acknowledged on the altar, and that's how it gets preserved, because now those stories don't die. That etiquette lives on forever.
Absolutely.